Alright, this is John Kohler with okraw.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you, coming at you from my beautiful backyard beyond organic gardening today. And actually that is a topic of today's discussion that I'd like to share with you guys. It's about the whole big debate, conventional versus organic. I've made videos on this topic in the past, and everybody out there is going to have their own personal opinions on if they should get conventional or organic. That may play into if you have money or not and all these other things. You know, I once had a friend who basically would spend all her money on organic produce because she knew it was important and would believe in it. And if that is you, more power to you. Of course, I know people that don't have a lot of money and organic's just not worth it, and then just throw literally the baby out with the bath water and just don't buy any organic and don't believe on it. In addition, I have been to raw food events, where, some of them say we got a strong commitment to organic, we're going to buy as much organic or all organic even. And then there's other ones that I go to that are like, oh, we don't have any organic, or there might just be a random thing organic here and there if you're lucky. The jury is out for many people if they believe it to be important or not. I know there are some raw food educators out there that I personally disagree with their opinion that, oh, it's not important, if you're getting organic or not. There's more important things. Well, I don't know about you, but to me, buying organic produce is very important, to me and my lifestyle and to what I do. Now, for some of you guys, it might not be important at all and all this kind of stuff. And you could get into this study shows that conventional is better than organic. And it depends on what aspect of the study. Are you talking phytonutrients? Are you talking vitamins? Are you talking minerals? Are you just talking, how big it is? I mean, you could grow some conventional food that looks huge, but it's totally deficient in some of the most important nutrients, the phytonutrients and the trace minerals, in my personal opinion. I mean, to me, I literally put my money where my mouth is. I believe in not even organic, because as much as organic is, in my opinion, better than conventional in many ways, it's not the complete solution to having high quality food whatsoever. There are new standards coming out, actually called regenerative organic, which I would encourage you guys to look for. It's not quite out yet. There's a few companies producing regenerative organic agriculture commodities at this time. But the best I could do is actually grow my own beyond organic, and this stuff is not certified, but I would much rather have any of my food grown in my backyard than anything else, even certified organic or even regenerative organic, because I know exactly what was sprayed on these guys, and I've been spraying on like kelp and phytoplankton and beneficial microbes, but actually I don't think I've been sprayed any pesticides. And if I do spray one, it's called Dr. Zym's, which is basically non-persistent, so it actually doesn't mess up the bees, the pollinators, and all this kind of stuff. So while you could get into this study shows that organic's better, this study shows conventional's better, it's like pulling out your you-know-what and trying to compare with your friends and see how long it is. I'm not going to get into the big you-know-what, debate or whatever. But what I will do in this is just give you guys some common sense knowledge and my personal opinions on 10 reasons why I choose to not eat conventional produce whenever possible. That being said, I am not perfect. Is John Kohler's diet 100% organic? It is absolutely not 100% organic, right? At this time, due to my stage in life where I'm living and everything that's going on in the world, I'm not 100% organic, and I'll range from being 90% organic to 100% organic sometimes, some days. But in general, I'm probably around like 95 to 100% organic. There are foods I will straight up avoid if I can't get them organic. That being said, I'm not like a organic nose up dude. Like, I'm not eating that, it's not organic. I met people like that, and hey, it's cool if you want to be like that, but I can't find organic jackfruit near me. If I don't eat conventional jackfruit, I'm not going to eat jackfruit. More important to me to have more variety in my diet and maybe have some foods that may not be as high sprayed in pesticides. Now, of course, if some of these foods that I eat were highly sprayed pesticides, you know, that I couldn't get organic, then I would just avoid them. You know, for me, I would actually just travel somewhere where I could go visit farms. I have so many farmer friends around the world. Thank you guys that are my farmer friends around the world, and even new ones I haven't met yet that grow organically, that I source from, that I visit farms and all these things. But you know, in the end, my goal is to encourage you guys to eat more organic because it is a better option. And even at the end of this video, I'm going to show you guys actually better ways to better eat than just buying organic at the grocery store. I came from a place where I had a chronic health condition and almost lost my life when I was younger. And you know, for many people that's working on you know, their opportunity, their health opportunity, you know, coming back from a disease or dis-ease in the body, I think that even organic and reducing contamination and pesticides is very, very critical. Now, if you're just some athlete that doesn't care, that's, you know, running marathons and, you know, in pretty good health, you know, maybe that's not as important to you. But I know my focus on raw foods is longevity and health and optimal health. And in my opinion, you know, you're not going to get that with conventionally grown food. That's why, you know, a good portion of my time is spent in my garden. I mean, before this video, I was actually watering my garden because I have my irrigation set to minimal this time of year, to hand water, to give my plants the water they need, but also, more importantly, you know, grow some of the highest quality. This, we have all red lettuces, which is more nutritious than green lettuces. In this bit, we have all my brassica, mostly kale and collard greens, broccoli, a lot of purple plants. I want you guys to eat your anthocyanins, eat as many purple plants as possible. I think it is very important for people that are vegan, or even more importantly for people that are raw vegan, to eat as much organic as they possibly can get or afford and go out of their way to buy, because we are eating significantly more fruits and vegetables than the average person. Like, duh! Like, my diet is based around fruits and vegetables. I get the majority of my calories from vegetables, fruits, and then other plant foods, but the majority of what I eat is fruits and vegetables. And if you're eating more fruits and vegetables, you have higher probabilities of basically getting more pesticide residues within you. Not to say that organic doesn't have pesticide residues, because there are organic approved pesticides, because I know some people make videos, oh, organic doesn't have pesticides. They have organic approved pesticides, which may be safer, but in some cases are actually not safer. But we could talk about that even more. So the goal of growing organic, as I'll get into, is to not use pesticides at all. And you may not even have to do that if you have properly grown food and soil, which is really not happening anywheres. Oh my God, I have so much information on this topic. I could go on probably for an hour, but I got to get going here pretty shortly. So, but yeah, because you're eating more fruits and vegetables, you should be more concerned about that. And hopefully if you're vegan, fruits and vegetables should make the majority of your diet as a vegan diet, because fruits and vegetables are simply the most healthy foods on the entire planet. If you're a standard American diet eater, you know, eat more fruits and vegetables is my message to you guys. I mean, think about it. You're going to get more pesticide contamination on eating an apple than drinking a Coca-Cola or a Coke or a soda, right? Isn't that crazy? I mean, you're not getting a lot of things in the Coke, and you're getting a lot of other garbage in the Coke, but you're not going to get as much pesticide residue because it's been highly processed, and you're drinking mostly water, and it's been processed out. There's not a lot of contamination in certain, you know, commodity, you know, processed food products, although others may even concentrate the pesticides. So the other thing I will say is that pesticide residues on crops are not going down because people want to eat healthier. They're actually going up because pests are getting more resistant to pesticides. So nature evolves. I mean, think the coronavirus is now evolving into one that can be transmitted more or whatever. But same thing, you know, if pests are getting killed by eating a certain, you know, on a certain plant because of pesticides, they're going to make adjustments and actually change their genes so that they can adapt and live with the pesticides, and that is what is occurring. So pesticide rates are going up, and you'll never be able to outcompete nature, in my personal opinion. Nature will always find a way around it. And anyways, and the other thing I want to say before I get into is children are most at risk. So if you have babies, have children, you know, I would encourage you to, you know, significantly reduce and or eliminate all conventional produce and other foods if it's possible. I mean, they make organic Oreos these days. I don't agree with those either because I'm not a big fan of processed foods. But, you know, at least they're going to have less, you know, of the toxic chemical contamination than an organic one. All right? Now, the other thing I want to say before I get into my 10 reasons why I choose to not eat conventional produce is that I want you guys to vote with your dollars. I mean, many of you guys that are in America know how important it was to get out and vote this last November to decide the new people in charge of the country. That's a whole different topic I'm not going to discuss. But you also vote with your dollars each and every time you spend your money. If you vote for this president or that president, you're voting for whatever comes with that guy. And same thing when you vote for buying conventional food, you are voting with your dollars so that the growers, the farmers, the industrial agriculture conglomerate will basically grow more conventional food because you're not buying organic. This perpetuates the challenges, in my personal opinion. So much like many of you guys got out to vote, this year for new, leadership. I want you guys to vote with your dollars every time you go shopping and purchase products that you believe in and that will do things for the environment that you think are better. Also, you could vote like me. I vote with my time and my money. I spend a lot of money to put in my garden and to grow my garden, and it is worth it for me because it is the best investment in my money and my time is to grow my own high quality food that is not sprayed, that is better quality than any organic kale you could buy at your local whole paycheck grocery store. Now, the other thing that I want you guys to, consider is that when you buy conventional, even though it looks like just like the organic one, you're getting a lot more contamination of pesticides and chemical residues that are going to build up in your body, and they're, over time may cause issues. So in the end, you will pay one way or the other, pay in terms of maybe lost health potentially later on, or not. And that's just up to you guys and what you guys want to do. You may think you're saving money now, but in the end, it may kind of end up coming to bite you in the ass. But then again, it might not, because there are no long-term studies that we'll learn about. Because it's so hard to, there's so many different elements and things going on in a person's life to say, oh, it's the pesticides that cause this. All right, so first reason why I don't support conventional produce whenever possible is because they are not natural. They are man-made, right? If you guys are into natural living, if you guys still buy conventional, that's kind of like an oxymoron to me. Why? Because pesticides are basically akin to drugs. I mean, if you're like, I don't believe in drugs, they're not natural, I'm not going to use drugs, but then you're still buying conventional food, they're literally spraying, drugs are derived from basically petrochemicals or like oil and gas, and same thing. Pesticides are derived from oil and gas, so now you're just basically getting it on the flip side. You're not taking drugs, you don't believe in that, you believe in holistic, but yet you're allowing these pesticides or drugs into your body through contamination residues and promoting those industries to continue to flourish by buying conventional produce. I mean, these are things that most people never think of, and I'm kind of like the oddball. I like to think I'm kind of odd and different, and I like being odd and different, but it's like, this is really critical. Like, you believe in nature's healing, but you still get conventional. I don't know, man. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Number two is that because these are man-made chemicals, never before existed on Earth. And let me remind you guys, pesticides are really less than 100 years old. They haven't been even around for like 100 years at this point, or maybe a little bit, maybe about 100 years now, They are brand new items on the Earth, and to think all of a sudden, oh, they're safe because they've been here for the millions of years the Earth has been here, you are, in my opinion, fooling yourself, right? They're totally not natural, and our bodies are probably not able to easily detox some of them. I mean, our bodies could detox a lot of things, and maybe some of the pesticides we can detox up to a level, but over the threshold, man, in my personal opinion, it starts to affect you negatively, you know. And according to some of the research, and I'll put all the links down below to documented research, and I've only covered like a lot of different scientific journal published science articles to, you know, come up with this video, plus it's my own ideas that you might want to review, and there's probably a lot more articles if you want to like really dive into the science on this. I'm not like trying to make up stuff or get you to buy organic or not. I don't even think organic is the solution. Growing your own food, supporting local farmers that you have a connection with, that you know how they grow their food, is even more important. But that's for another video. So the analogy I want to give is that our bodies cannot detox, you know, the pesticides and all this is like the whole raw food, you know, analogy that some people give. Oh, we ate only raw before there was fire. And I know some of you guys believe this, and yeah, I mean, yeah, we definitely ate raw before there was fire, and you know, that's a whole different discussion topic. But, you know, the thing is this, like, throughout human history, we'd never had to deal with pesticides. So if, like, you think, oh, it's natural to eat raw, it's also natural to not eat pesticides. Because we never had to deal with those literally, you know, over 100 years ago. There was no such thing as pesticides. Third reason why I choose not to purchase conventional produce whenever possible is because conventional farming basically destroys the topsoil. It destroys the soil microbiome. There's less soil microdiversity, right? It's literally like spoon feeding plants like an insurer, like when you know, if you need to just get like an IV infusion of nutrients. It is not totally natural at all. It degrades the soil. It makes the dust bowl. That, along with tilling, which is, you know, done in conventional farming, you have to till because you don't have soil structure, because you're feeding water synthetic nutrients. I mean, it is a big complex problem of, you know, soil destruction, and they say that we only have 30 years left of soil, and there's only X years number left of fish in the ocean, and all these things. I mean, these are catastrophic, and it is all because these small, you know, small actions you take every day are contributing to bigger problems at hand that might not be immediately identifiable to us personally. So conventional agriculture basically has a blatant disregard for nature and natural systems. It's like they try to replace basically chemicals to like spray and kill bugs so that plants could have some resistance, or you could kill bugs when plants get bugs, right? And instead of spraying pesticides on the plants, right? Plants are literally chemical factories. They are phytochemical producers. Plants produce phytochemicals, also known as phytonutrients, when they're good for us, that basically defend themselves against bugs, disease, and bacteria if they have all the nutrients in the soil and soil microbiome in the proper ratios that they need. That's why my goal is to not spray anything and to have high quality food that then can have its own immune system and make its own plant phytochemicals that the plants could fight off the bugs and disease and fungus and all this stuff it themselves without me having to spray chemicals on it. And this is the same conventional produce that subverts this, and at the same time it's doing this. Basically, what happens is like, say you need a bodyguard because people are gonna kick your butt if you're like in grade school, right? If you got a bodyguard in grade school, you pay him your lunch money every week. He's gonna like protect you from bad people, right? But say one time the bodyguard's not there because he's going to the bathroom, and then you get your ass, you know, beat up, right? Well, hey, if you learn how to fight and kick ass on your own, right, then you don't need a bodyguard. And that's kind of like what the plants do, right? The plants don't need my plants don't need a bodyguard because they produce their phytochemicals that they've had to do for millions of years, as long as they've been on the planet, you know, to fight off bugs, disease, and pests. This way, when there's more phytochemicals, right, in the plants, those transfer to phytonutrients for us and are more nutritious for us. And this is one of the main reasons why organic food can be, but not always, more healthy than conventional, because they have to make their own phytochemicals. Now, of course, if organic farmers spray on organic pesticides, then the plants is still defeating the purpose of the plants. The plants now still don't have to make their phytochemicals, so they may not be as nutritious. And this is why sometimes organic's better and sometimes it's not. What are the specific practices? Fourth reason why I choose not to support conventional agriculture is because, as I mentioned, it lowers the phytonutrients in the plants. This is critical. Phytonutrients have a big correlation with human health based on my research, right? Phytochemicals make up antioxidants. So the higher the phytochemicals in the plants, the higher the antioxidants and the more benefits you will have for you. In addition, aside from the phytochemicals, which are one component of the plants, the trace minerals are also another element that can be higher in organic foods. I think I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. But more importantly, aside from the phytochemicals, there's also going to be more microbiome influences in organic plants. I know this is not a big area of study. I've been studying because I'm literally been gardening myself and like diving into food soil web, and I spray out compost teas and different archaea and different bacterial inoculants to my plants. And when my plants get sprayed on bacteria and I eat the plants, and these are beneficial microbes, I eat the plants, I get these bacteria into me, right? It is imperative that you have a healthy microbiome. They make up part of your immune system. They could make you feel happy, happy or not. And they also help you digest your food. They are so critical. They also make essential fats in your gut, like propionate, that are so critical for health, right? And if you're not eating organic, then you're not going to get all these endogenous microbes into you that then maybe you won't have as good a health. Fifth reason I try to avoid conventional produce whenever possible is because I'm an animal lover. Are you guys an animal lover? Maybe you consider yourself vegan or plant-based, but maybe you just care about other creatures on the planet, right? I want to live in harmony. Like, if you look through my whole garden, like, does my garden right now have some aphids? Yes, I had some aphids the other day, and what I do is I spray them off with high-pressure water. And they may dislodge some, and they may come back, may kill a couple. But, pesticides and herbicides and fungicides are basically killers. They kill things. They kill, they could kill pests and, diseases and mold and fungi so that you could have some food to eat, And this could be a really bad thing because why? Because now you're going to get contamination of those into the food system. And when these concentrate, right, say like they've done studies in Montana, once again, links are down below, and it contaminates the environment now literally through secondhand contamination of the environment of using pesticides and voting with your dollars for conventional food, you are going to cause loss of biodiversity of different kinds of animals, butterflies and bees and fish, even frogs, right? In addition, land mammals that live on the land near places that have been contaminated with pesticide residues and oversprays and all these things, right? Think about the little baby deers, right? They've done studies that the baby deers could have deformed faces. They could have messed up eyes. They will not be as healthy as they could be because, once again, people are voting with their dollars for conventional food where they're spraying pesticides. It's getting into the environment and messing up animals. So if you care about animals, I would like to think that you would want to go out of your way to buy a little more organic produce so that the environment and the animals in the environment are not as negatively affected by your personal choices. Sixth reason I strive to avoid conventional produce whenever possible is because of human animals, right? Aside from harming animals and deformations, right? People that work as farmers, right, that spray conventional produce, even if they're all suited up, and most of the time in the US we have pretty good laws, but in other countries, if you're buying conventional from, South America, right? They don't have all these stringent laws, or Asia or India, right? People get really sick and lose their life, get deformed, have neurological issues because of the pesticides that are being used on the crops that you are literally voting for with your dollars. I don't want somebody to have to get deformed and use pesticides because of me, right? I would prefer them not to. And the human impacts of pesticide use is insane. And this is just direct contact with pesticides. And if a lot of the, farm workers are getting higher incidence of cancer, but they're spraying it out, right? When you're eating, produce with the same pesticides on it and over a lifetime accumulation, what's going to happen to you, right? I mean, once again, there's no long-term studies on lifetime accumulation of small amounts of pesticides. We know what happens when there's too much pesticides. Somebody could immediately have effects and even lose their life instantly because of poisoning, pesticide poisoning. Seventh reason I strive to not eat conventional and support conventional produce whenever possible is because the environment, literally. Are you an environmentalist? Do you drive an electric car? I mean, I drive an electric car. Then that's a whole nother debate. I have a video on that. But the other thing is, conventional pesticides and produce is literally destroying the environment. It is contaminating waterways, with fertilizer runoffs, NPK runoffs, creating algae blooms, putting glyphosate into nature, right? It's messing up the air and the water and the soil, right? It's just not good for the planet to be creating all these chemicals that in most of the time are being sprayed in excess or too much, so that they kill bugs, so that farmers can retain their profits and not lose the money. And once again, you're voting for this with your dollars when you're buying conventional. So the next time you think about buying conventional, do you really want to hurt the environment by buying and making a produce choice? I'll leave that up to you. I do the best I can, and I encourage you guys to do the best you guys can as well. Now, the other thing is that pesticides are a non-renewable resource. They are made from fossil fuels, right? And fossil fuels are a non-renewable resource, right? If you grew plants properly so that they didn't need pesticides to fight off pests, that's a renewable way of doing things. Synthetic fertilizers are made in a factory from oil or natural gas, and those are non-renewable. What happens when all the natural gas runs out and we can't make fertilizer anymore? Well, then conventional agriculture goes away, because we'll be forced to do, like they had to do in Cuba, is grow things organically. The 8th reason why I strive to avoid conventional produce whenever I possibly can is because the pesticide industry and regulators that regulate the pesticide industry, which is basically lawmakers and people that we voted for in charge of the government because they have lobbyists, are basically ignorant of human physiology, right? I know a lot of you guys that are into health and holistic healing are into like physiology and how the human body works and all this kind of stuff, and you guys probably know more about physiology than I do, and how the human body works and how the detox this and that and that. Pesticide regulators and pesticide companies are ignorant of this because they just want to just walk down the aisles and not hear about any of this, because then guess what? Guess what's going to happen? Once there starts to have studies that come out on how toxic and the negative effects of the pesticides, what's going to happen? Their business is going to go down. And it is a huge, giant industry, just like the drug industry, another chemical industry. Pesticide is another chemical. And, there's many people getting rich by using pesticides, and people think it is the answer because it makes things easy. And yes, on some level it makes things easy, but it also causes more problems. So when you are voting for conventional food, you're voting for making these pesticide people, and more importantly, the regulators that regulate them, rich because of all the kickbacks, in my opinion, that they get. So the 9th reason why you should avoid pesticides and conventional produce is because there is a lack of data on pesticide residues and their long-term effects on human health. We are all literally guinea pigs in this whole pesticide world, right? They could see studies where they take blood samples and they could see all the toxins and chemicals and pesticides within you, but they don't know how this is going to interact with us in the long term, 10, 20, 30 years down the road. There's barely studies showing that eating a plant-based diet is healthier than not and is going to reduce mortality, morbidity, and disease, right? So there's nothing on this. So, once again, you guys have a choice. Do you want to, there is no data that supports the use that pesticides are completely safe. And contrary, there's many, there's much data showing pesticides can cause things like cancer and problems. So, and the other thing to me is that it's just not natural. I believe in a natural diet, eating as close to nature as possible, and conventional food is not as close to nature as possible. 10th reason why I choose not to support conventional agriculture is based on basically what I know about growing food. Conventional agriculture, basically they pick up a bag of fertilizer, 10, 10, 10, 15, 15, 15, triple 30, and it's this fertilizer that contains 3 major minerals, and they put it into the ground to grow the plants because they've determined plants need these 3 minerals to grow, and then when plants get those 3 minerals, then they grow. That being said, whatever you put in the ground is what the plant will absorb, so now these plants have 3 main minerals with maybe some other smaller amounts of minor minerals, and they grow. But when you eat the food, you're not going to get the wide spectrum of trace minerals we need to be healthy. There are huge mineral deficiencies in the population at large, in my personal opinion, and this causes many issues. I mean, I see the issues when your plants are deficient in certain nutrients. They might turn yellow. Certain things will happen to them, letting you know that, hey, I'm deficient in this mineral. You better give it to me or I'm going to check out, right? And so plants have to have a minimal mineral level. But then there's all these pathways that are affected, by this mineral, like, at episode couple ago, that if you don't have selenium, you could be more prone to getting, the Coxsackie virus and having some, heart issues because you didn't have enough selenium in your diet. So like all these trace minerals play a role in our health as well as plant health, but, plant agriculture seems to fail to realize that even these small, minute trace minerals can be critical for the plant's health, and more importantly, down the chain when we eat the plants, very important for us. So while conventional farming may focus on 3 minerals, they may put up to 15 to 16 that they've identified are really important for plant health to grow, or they're not going to grow at all. Actually, my garden gets between 70 to 90 different trace minerals. I don't know what they all do. I'm not a genius or nothing like that. But what I do know is that these are nature's ratios of the trace minerals that would be appearing in my garden from the sources from like the sea, the ocean, and from ground up rocks that I put in my ground, not in my desired ratios, but natural ratios that are already existing, including a new one that I'm spraying on is phytoplankton. I have an episode on GYG, on Growing Your Greens, about the phytoplankton I'm spraying on my plants as a biostimulant and also to enhance the mineral content of my foods. We wouldn't need mineral supplements like Centrum A to Z of zinc if we had the minerals in our food, and this is a big problem. And I would definitely bet money in many cases organic food will have a wider spectrum of minerals than conventionally grown food, because at least in organic foods, generally, there are more inputs being used. Instead of 10-10-10 fertilizer, they're probably using chicken manure, cow manure, and hopefully it's from an organic farm. Or they're going to use a lot of compost that has lots of different materials that are composted in that then add a wider spectrum of minerals. And of course, most organic farms don't even add things like rock dust or the ocean minerals, solids, or kelp that I would add into my garden. So I think even organic food is deficient to some level, and that's why I grow my own. All right, so those are my 10 reasons why I strive to not support conventional produce, which contains pesticides. That being said, once again, I will say that organic produce, they could also spray pesticides on it. Maybe they're safer in many cases, or that's what I like to believe, but in some cases they may actually not be safer. So yeah, I don't even think organic is the answer. But the whole fact of the matter is there are definitely proven, causation between some health detriment and pesticides, right? Low levels of pesticide exposure may cause things like headaches, dizziness, fatigue, weakness, nausea, chest tightening, difficulty breathing, insomnia, confusion, and difficulty concentrating, right? I notice when I eat something that's conventional that may be, clean or whatever, or I got some of that farmer's market and they didn't spray anything, then I get a rash, right? That's my body like detoxing the pesticides, out of my body because I just ate some unbeknownst to me. That is not my goal, because I don't like to get any kind of rash or feel lightheaded, headaches, or dizziness, or weakness, or nausea, or any of these effects. But, be aware that if you're, every day I eat apples, I get a headache, and you're eating conventional apples, I want you guys to pay more attention to yourself. I'm not going to say that's going to happen to you. I don't know what's going to happen to you. But, I want you guys to be aware and informed of what you're doing and the potential outcomes that could happen. Another thing I want to mention is that most countries, large countries, have a limit on how much pesticides can be applied, but it's often not policed, right? If you're driving down the highway, there's a cop with a radar gun making sure that you're staying on the speed limit, depending on where you live, But think if there's no cops with speed limit guns, even though they had a speed limit, everybody would just go over the speed limit. I mean, most people go over the speed limit anyways when nobody's looking, And likewise, especially in foreign countries, they just may be spraying lots of pesticides because, I got all these pests, I'm going to spray more because more is better. Is like is the human way, right? More is better. and then you're going to have, maybe above safe levels. I mean, they have safe levels of pesticides. I don't think any level is personally safe myself. I'd rather have 0 pesticides on all my foods, and that's why I strive to purchase organic that should contain less chemical pesticides that's made in a factory. Now, another issue that I have with pesticides is that pesticides are usually studied individually for safety, right? We study this pesticide and we consider it safe, but the problem is when you have a pesticide cocktail, you have, sometimes crops don't just spray one pesticide. They spray this pesticide this week. Next week they spray this pesticide. Now you have like a trifecta, maybe 3 or 4 more pesticides on this one food that now you're eating. And now instead of, eating one pesticide, you're eating like 4, and they don't know what happens when you combine these 4 pesticides and then you eat it. So during my research and investigating some of the scientific journal published studies, which are down below, there are some causal relationships between pesticides and human health. Number 1, they are endocrine disruptors, and an endocrine system, I mean, they have whole doctors that specialize in endocrine disruptions and systems, and that's some complicated stuff. But you know what? You don't want to mess up your endocrine system. I'm gonna tell you that, because here's the thing: most pesticides work on bug neurology, or their brain and sensing and signaling and all this stuff, and it messes them up and kills them. But the same pathways can happen in us, even though they say, it affects bugs, not us. But why do people get cancer when they overspray pesticides and farm workers get all these issues, right? Next thing is important if you're a man, right? If you guys are eating conventional produce with more pesticides, right, you're going to lower your semen quality. What does that mean? That means you won't be able to reproduce. I mean, there are so many reproduction issues in this day and age. And if you think, conventional is fine, you eat conventional produce your whole life, then you can't reproduce. I think that might be a good thing personally. Number 3, pesticides can cause nerve damage and are neurotoxic to your nerves, which is really not good. As I mentioned, that's how they operate in the insects. Number 3, they could have estrogenic effects. They could make you more feminizing. So there's a study out there that shows that frogs that have pesticide exposure basically are more feminized. So there's more women frogs than men frogs, or feminizing, turning male frogs female or whatever. And so maybe that's a good thing if you're a guy frog, or not. But I don't want to become feminized from the pesticides personally. Cancer is another problem that can be problematic with pesticide exposure. I mean, farm workers get cancer. Roundup or glyphosate is a probable human carcinogen, right? These chemicals can wreak havoc on our bodies. And, one of my goals is to try to live as healthy as possible. And, one of the ways I do that is by eating the overwhelming majority, 90-95% of my food organic. So one of the things that's very important for me is my immune system. I had some immune deficiencies when I was younger that I had to correct through diet and whatnot. And another reason why you should avoid pesticides is because it can depress your immune system. It can impair it, right? You could also get things like skin rashes, and it could cause liver disease because now you're making your liver work harder. Any chemicals that come in your body generally are detoxed by your liver. Now your liver has to detox more chemicals than not. I'd rather have my liver working on detoxing other things that I, cannot avoid, like things in the air, for example. Pesticides can degrade your health, will alter your microbiome, and that is super huge, super critical. An altered microbiome can cause massive health issues. I mean, our microbiome is our immune system. It helps us, process our food and have so many other effects in our lives. In addition, pesticides can cause glucose intolerance and or maybe a reason for diabetes. Not to say, you ate pesticide food, so you got diabetes. There's probably many other reasons. There's many things that could cause these things, but this is what they've shown in animal models. So things that I'm mentioning here are in animal or human models. Once again, links are down below if you guys want to read all the science. I'm not making this stuff up. It could cause excess inflammation in your body, excess stress in your body, and causes extra free radicals to produce. I don't know about you, but I'm trying to reduce my free radical exposure by eating high nutrient antioxidant rich foods and eating a host of different beneficial fibers that occur in the plants. And eating pesticide foods it's kind of like say you got like your sink is clogged, so it's overflowing. So instead of paling the water out so that it doesn't overflow, you could just fix the clog, right? And so it's like I don't want to overload my body needlessly if I don't have to. You know, one day I will eat 99% of my diet organic because I'll have 10 acres and I'll grow like mostly everything me and my family needs. I'm not there at this point yet, so I grow as much as I possibly can in my backyard. I mean, you can see it's packed with all kinds of different you know, fruits and vegetables, mostly vegetables this time of year that I'm growing so that I could eat them. So at the end of this episode, number one, I want to say that I don't want to dissuade you from eating conventional produce despite all the issues that it can have. I strive to encourage you guys to do the best you can. If you have the money, buy organic. You'll find stores, if you seek out organic, you'll find stores like I found the Smart and Final grocery store here in town, which actually has quite a large organic section, over 100 different items of organic, and it's actually some of it's quite affordable. You know, so you could seek out and you could find it. It may cost more now, but you will save money in the long run. Even warehouse club stores such as Sam's Club and Costco have organic produce. I'll drive to the wholesale produce terminal, which I have videos on, to make it more affordable. So now I want to show you guys my best tips on to avoid the pesticides. Number one is grow your own food. Why do I grow a garden? Well, to avoid pesticides and more importantly, have higher quality food than money can buy. Money can't buy the quality food that I'm literally growing, and if you grew it in your house, you know, then you could have high quality food as well. Just follow my YouTube channel, Growing Your Greens, where I teach you guys how to grow the highest quality food. Also, grow sprouts and microgreens inside your house. They're not going to be sprayed with anything. You're literally germinating them with seeds and water, and for the most part, that's it. And so you can have high quality food that way, even if you don't have land to grow your own. Right after that, I would recommend go wild harvest some food, right? Go out to a park or out in nature in the middle of nowhere, right? Find your local edibles that can be wild harvested, that are edible and safe to do so. You know, in the middle of a forest, I would prefer to eat wild food before I bought conventional or even organic food from the grocery store. Next is I want to encourage you guys to get to know your local farmer. I would rather support a local farmer that I know did not spray pesticide on his crops than to get organic food that's being shipped in from far away from a farm I do not know, that's probably a big giant agro company, you know. And so get to know your farmer and visit the farm. More importantly, visit the farm. Just ask them what they spray. Ask them if they could come out and you could visit their farm when the coronavirus is over to check out what they're doing and how they're growing so that you could know how they grow. You know, for me, definitely avoiding pesticides are more important than avoiding chemical fertilizer, but you know, we all have to do the best we can, right? And I will still say, even organic produce is still far better than eating any other processed food item or even animal food at the grocery store if you cannot purchase organic because of financial reasons or it's just not simply available to you. The more you support organic agriculture, the more it's going to become wider and wider available, and that's why, you know, the Smart and Final near me did a produce reset and they started carrying even more organic. The next method to avoid as many possible chemical pesticides as possible is buy organic. Organic's not the answer, and they can spray organic pesticides on organic produce, although I'd like to think that in general they have better soil keeping, which is going to produce higher quality, which means pesticides will not be used as much. My next tip is one that many people don't know of, but it's basically buy greenhouse grown produce whenever you possibly can. Hothouse or greenhouse grown produce, you know, including things like English cucumbers, sometimes Persian cucumbers, sometimes tomatoes, as well as peppers, can be greenhouse grown. You know, at Costco or Sam's Club, they have greenhouse grown, products generally. Like the Campari tomatoes are one of those, and look for greenhouse grown or hothouse grown on the packaging. Generally, things that are grown in a greenhouse, they try not to spray pesticides in there. If they're using IPM, in many farms in the greenhouse industry will use IPM or integrative pest management, where they try to bring in beneficial bugs before they have to spray anything. And the other thing is about in a greenhouse, like, you know, they lock the doors of the greenhouse so that no pests could get in. They're not going to have the pest outbreak so that they have to spray in the first place, right? It's like if you keep your door open to your front house, burglars could come in and ransack your house, but if you lock them every night, they're not going to get in. You know, so I like to think that in general, greenhouse grown food is a little bit cleaner than conventional food. The last tip I want to give you guys for eating less pesticide residues in your food is to, look up the Clean 15 and Dirty Dozen lists, right? This is not the answer, but at least it gives you some kind of guidance, because nobody else is really putting guidance out there for you guys on to know what to eat. So this is the 2020 Dirty Dozen list. You can check them out at ewg.org. That's the Environmental Working Group. And they come out with the fruits and vegetables with the most pesticide residues, and I'll read them off for you. Number 1, strawberries. Number 2, spinach. Number 3, kale. Yeah, one of the reasons why I grow my own kale. As good as it for you, you're also getting a host of pesticides. Number 4, nectarines. Number 5, apples. 6, grapes. 7, peaches. 8, cherries. 9, pears. 10, tomatoes. 11, celery. And 12, potatoes. And it says multiple samples of kale showed 18 different pesticides. So it's very important to get organic kale, in my personal opinion. Especially, watch it, if you're just getting kale chips and they're not certified organic, you could be eating 18 different pesticides in your kale chips. Now, not on this list, if they were on this list, because this is all fresh produce, raisins. Raisins number 1, because they basically take grapes, which are number 6 on the list, and they basically dry them out to take away the water, which then concentrates the pesticides. So if you get raisins, very important to get organic ones. Now, the Clean 15 have been shown to have the least pesticides, so the fruits and vegetables with the least pesticide residues. And this list is not perfect because the way they run the numbers and all this stuff. So buy these organic if you're possible, but sometimes, you may not need to if you want to reduce your pesticide load. So for me, I buy organic avocados when they're affordable and when I'm able, but many times I will buy non-organic avocados because they are number 1 on the Clean 15 list. Number 2, sweet corn. Now, while sweet corn is least pesticide residue, the other thing they don't tell you is that when you're buying organic, you don't get GMO. If you're buying even conventional corn that may not have pesticide residue, it can be GMO or genetically modified, which I'm not a fan of, and that's yet another reason to support organic agriculture. Number 3, pineapple. Number 4, onions. Number 5, papaya. Number 6, sweet peas, frozen. Number 7, eggplants. Number 8, asparagus. Number 9, cauliflower. Number 10, cantaloupes. 11, broccoli. 12, mushrooms. 13, cabbage. 14, honeydew melon. And 15, kiwi. And it says almost 70% of the Clean 15 samples had no pesticide residues. So those are some ways you could reduce the pesticide residue. Now, besides pesticide residue, I also want you guys to maximize your phytonutrient and trace mineral intake. And, I believe organic agriculture will do that, better than conventional. That being said, the best, once again, is grow your own. So if you learn anything from this, remember, try to grow as much produce as you possibly can if it is important to you, right? If it's not important to you, buy conventional. If your health is not important to you, buy more conventional. Always, nothing is perfect. I'm never going to be 100% organic and 0% conventional. I'm always going to be a ratio, but my ratio will always be like almost all organic with very little conventional. And hopefully one day there's organic jackfruits and organic cactus fruits and organic everything I want, or even better, regenerative organic, and even better than that is nutrient-dense organic, which there is no certification for. While they do have nutrient-dense foods, and some farms grow that, it's not really widely known, but growing nutrient-dense is truly the answer, in my opinion, because when you grow nutrient-dense foods, not only is it more nutritious for people, but then guess what? The plants don't need to have as many or any pesticides applied, because the plants basically make all the phytochemicals they need themselves to fend off creatures in the world. And that is truly the answer, and that's something that you're not going to hear on most, organic versus conventional debates. I mean, this is my life I've been leading now for the last 25 years, deeply involved with gardening, growing food, and eating naturally, holistically. Hopefully this episode has been of some value to you. If it is, hey, please be sure to give this video a thumbs up. Also, please be sure to click that, please be sure to share this video with other people you think it could help. Also, be sure to click that subscribe button right down below so you don't miss out on my new upcoming episodes that come out every 5 to 7 days. You never know where I'll show up or what you'll be learning on my YouTube channel. Make sure you click the little bell to get notified as my new videos come out. And finally, be sure to check my past episodes. The past episodes are a wealth of knowledge. Over 500 episodes at this time on this YouTube channel dedicated to you guys all about how to eat more fresh fruits and vegetables, which are the healthiest foods on the entire planet. So with that, my name is John Kohler with okraw.com. We'll see you next time. Until then, remember, keep eating your fresh fruits and vegetables. They're always the best.